Hey. The lore continues, friends, and the lore continues. Whenever you think the lore is complete, you're in fact very sadly mistaken. Just take that from me. Welcome back to Babblings, formerly Babblings of a 20-something, but we are streamlining, baby. We're growing, we're evolving, and so I'm simplifying it to Babblings. Hi, Celine. Do you want to come say hi? I knew as soon as I started she would come. Okay, Celine has joined us. Oh, no, she's gonna go to her spot. Oh, you guys can't see her anymore. But she is here. That makes me happy. You know, before we even get into anything, what even is this? I don't know. And you guys probably think I'm crazy to like the 30 people that watch this, or really the 5 people that watch it a couple of times. Or click on it. Or maybe all of the views are me. That is really a possibility, to be honest. What even is this? I don't know, but I've realized that Babblings is my art project, really. And it's kind of just this self-portrait. I mean, it was audio diaries like that I was just doing for myself, and then like the podcast, and I was just, you're just kind of like warming up. You feel your way into something. I've talked about this a lot on the podcast before, that I'm ever evolving, and I think that so is my creativity. And Babblings in the podcast, and I now started a Substack, which is linked below. And I'll talk more about that later, but what is this? This is really for me because I love to look back, and it's so important for me to see different chapters and parts of myself and get advice from that girl, or realize how different I am from that girl. I don't know why I want to share. I just know that I do. And so I guess I'll just keep sharing with myself and with everyone else. I guess I've just never been afraid to share. Doing something like this and then like putting it on YouTube and telling people about it, instead of, just like not saying anything or doing what I was doing before and just keeping them for myself. When you like broadcast it and tell people about it, it's like embarrassing. Like I want people to obviously I'm putting it out there, so I want people to be listening and be interested, but it's embarrassing at the same time that people actually listen to this or like could hear these thoughts. But anyways, I'm babbling. This is gonna be a long episode. I can already tell. How long have I even been recording? Let's maybe stop and check the audio on this. All right. Check. So I think I was just really asking myself the question when I was starting my Substack, which is linked below, babblings.substack.com. It's kind of just going to be the culmination of everything. The podcast is there, but it's also on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, but then also writings, journal archives, maybe just like some random photo posts, like Tumblr-esque. And then the Babblings report is going to be the newsletter that goes out with every podcast episode. And you guys know I love a very long episode description, so I decided to just put it all in a Substack newsletter so I can do even more and expand on like all the things I talk about. So that is linked below, and that is also where you can get all details about everything that I talk about, and like extra links and resources, etc. But I was asking myself, because I started a blog like when I was 12, and like I've always kind of like messed around with blogging, and my mom's an English teacher, and she was my 6th grade English teacher, and she is an amazing writer, and I feel like I just always felt like, my mom's a writer, and I just, I never understood my own creativity. And I think part of that was just being so anxious, afraid of trying. I had like this innate fear of trying, and so I just wouldn't try. I guess really that's just like a lack of confidence. And as I've grown, I've definitely built up that confidence, and it's not just pretending to be confident anymore. I feel like you kind of fake it till you make it. That in turn makes me feel more confident in my creativity and sharing it. Yeah, I've always wanted to tell stories, and I've always specifically wanted to tell my stories because I've had a very interesting life from birth. Like I said, the lore doesn't stop. I mean, you could go on for days. I mean, you ask me about my parents, you asked me about my siblings, you asked me about college, you asked me about boyfriends, you asked me about childhood, you asked me about my grandparents, you asked me about the house I grew up in. You could ask me any question, and I'm, that meme where it's like, they ask me about such and such, and I have to decide whether I'm going to drop major lore or blah, blah, blah. And that's when anybody is ever getting to know me. But I digress. So I was asking myself, what is this like project really? Like what am I doing? And I think, well, no, I know. And I was really like journaling about it and meditating, and this is, I realized, my art project. This is my like creative outlet, and it's a self portrait of me and things I care about and things going on in my world, in the larger world. I have this one section on my Substack. It's called Live from the End Times, and I call it my primary source that I'm leaving for the aliens. And I think that's also kind of part of it too. Like, there's something about leaving something behind. I was here and I had these experiences, and probably no matter what happens, if your humans are still alive, in 10,000 years, they'll probably still be going through similar woes, just like we go through relationships and day-to-day conflict and insecurities, and the people have for thousands of years. I mean, that's what it is to be human. And so it is also nice to leave something behind. So yeah, Babblings is back, and let's address the elephant in the room. Where the fuck am I? We started this podcast in my old apartment in Ohio, and then we picked it up last time in my last apartment in DC, and now we are in my third apartment. You guys, I have moved every year since I was 18, excluding 2019 and 2020. But other than that, I've moved every year, like to a new place, to a new house, pack it up, move it, and it's quite honestly my curse, but also my superpower, because I can make home in a lot of different places. But I am in a new apartment, and I was kind of forced to move over the summer. There were 2 fires in my apartment building, and I think the last episode I recorded post the first fire, which was, I think, in April, the end of April, and stayed, and I didn't move. I didn't have very much damage. It was just like very scary, but like everything was okay. And I think I even said in that episode, for some reason we were talking about the tower card. Maybe the tower card came out when I pulled a card. I don't remember, but I remember saying sometimes if you don't remove yourself from, like, if the tower moment, you don't take yourself away or make changes or address it, a tower will force you out, or the universe will use a tower to force you. And so there was a second fire, true to my own motherfucking words. There was a second fire in my apartment building, and like I live in like a little fourplex, like this isn't like a large apartment building, and it caused so much smoke damage to my apartment, and I had to throw out a lot of my stuff, hence my new couch. But this couch is a blessing, so I'm not sad about that. And I do really, really miss my house, my last apartment. I think, it was just really important to me and a place of independence for me. I really manifested it, which, speaking of, the title of this episode, Bullshit I Learned in the Last 6 Months, a lot of that has to do with the fire. And I've been through a lot in my life, but there's something about it being so out of my control. in a way of it being literally like a natural element, not just like other people. I can't do anything about fire. I didn't want to move. I loved my apartment so much, and running out of a building, like running for your life. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy and it was traumatic and honestly taught me so many things. And so really I have 6 things that I learned in the past 6 months. And what I was about to say when I was talking about my apartment is actually number 1. And I learned that you don't get to keep things that you manifest, because I manifested my last apartment. I 100% did. I had accepted a job in DC at the end of, or really no, at the beginning of May, and I was going to move down in July. The school that I was working at ended up closing. It was just like a really chaotic time, but I had to find an apartment, and so I was down to the wire like 2 weeks till I was planning to move. Hadn't found an apartment. I just like took myself to the park, really like meditated, like really thought it out, and I wrote down, exactly what I wanted and how it was going to feel and what it was going to look like. And then like 2 days later finally popped up. But also like I was every day on truly apartments.com. Like if you want to find something, you have to like be very diligent about that. And I knew that, being a ex-realtor and all, but found that place. And I've read that, like what I wrote, to a lot of people in my family, and it's like crazy. Like everyone is shocked. Like, and so I was just really proud of myself because I feel like I really just like trusted the universe, manifested that, used some of my little like magic, and got that place. And I was so grateful to have it. But I really lost a lot of my routines and practices and mindset that got me in the first place. And I think I remember almost this time last year, I had moved back for like 6 months, or no, sorry, like 4 months, 4 months. And because I am who I am, was thinking forward to the future and thinking, like, what's the next couple of years going to look like? Is like, am I going to settle here? Do I want to move somewhere else? Like, what do I want to do? And I remember just feeling so grateful to be in that apartment, and I was in love with it so much, and I was feeling so settled and like gift from the universe, right? And I thought, no, I could stay here. And then I was like, I could stay here for 5 more years, and I could really like be here. And I think about that now, and I thought that is what I had manifested, instead of I had manifested the vessel in order to move me forward, but not the thing that was going to be permanent for a while. I didn't realize that, and I didn't realize that you don't get to keep things that you manifest, that you like pray for. Solutions can be taken away. You could, because we don't, not understand what its true purpose is for. Now where I moved, I'm definitely in a place that I know I won't stay really for longer than the year that my lease is on. So I know that I'm going to have to keep moving, and I think I have to keep going down a path that I'm still feeling out. But I think I was being forced out of that stagnation, and sometimes we manifest things that it's almost like falling asleep again, like getting so comfortable, getting so invested in the routine, in the relationships, in the place. And I'm a Taurus. My home is like sacred to me, It was so emotional to say goodbye. Even now I'm smelling this microphone and it still kind of smells like fire. I'll like pick something up that I don't like use every day, and I'll like get ash on my fingers still. It's like all these constant little reminders. And sometimes you have to be brave enough to let go of the things you manifested in order to continue forward. All right, before I move on to number 2, I'll tell you some more bullshit that I've learned. And and that came from, because this literally is just a list that I wrote down like a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, yeah, I've learned all this shit, but it's fucking bullshit, like, so it's annoying, but unfortunately, I am here to learn things, and I'm gonna learn them, and I'm gonna change, and I'm gonna grow, and that's actually getting into number 2. But I said before I do that, I want to pull a card for you guys. I'm gonna be pulling just from a normal Rider Waite, Rider. I don't remember which order that's in. Tarot deck for me, guys. I'm just gonna pull a top card. I already shuffled and like meditated on this earlier, and I'm just feeling called just to pull the top card. So let's see what it is. The 6 of Wands. Well, sorry, this might be just a message for me. Sorry, this might just be for me. No, but it's not just for me. It's for all of us. And I think that's why I got it. But this has been coming out a lot for me, and specifically as a sign for something. We got the 6 of Wands, which is actually a really beautiful card to have, all about victory. It's literally a man coming back on a horse, triumphant from his battle during the 5 of Wands, or yada, yada, yada. He's overcome something, he's confident, he's victorious, and he's leading forward. With the Wands, there's fire, there's passion. So I really feel with the 6 of Wands coming out for us and for this episode, and what you guys need to hear is that there can be a victory. Like, if you take anything from me, anything from this episode, it's that it's hard, and you have to fight sometimes, and you have to fucking fight in life, and you have to push, and you have to fight for yourself, and you have to fight others, and you have to fight people you love, and you have to fight the earth and the elements, and capitalism, and there's so many things that you have to fight. But if you fight for yourself, you can be victorious, you can overcome, you can move forward. I've been finding myself a lot lately just looking around and reminding myself that life continues. And that's a lesson I learned very young. That's almost a reoccurring theme in my life, is that things happen and yet you continue. Life continues, the world continues, and it can be beautiful again. Life can be beautiful again. I'm shaking. Well, that's our card. Wow. I'm glad that I pulled that card, but wow. Just means a lot, Which, moving on, which really ties in with my second thing I learned in the last 6 months, is you'll never stop changing and growing, and you shouldn't. I mean, and this is something I feel like we all know in like a sense, right? But I think going back to that idea of me starting to become stagnant and thinking, oh, I'll live in this apartment, I could live here for another 5 years. I could build my life here. One, I can dream bigger, but also there's more for me to do, and I know that, but I was starting to get in that headspace, and then you're forced out of that, and you have to, because you have to continue growing. That's literally what life is about. And I think that there's this lie kind of sold to us that there you get to a point and you've grown that all you can grow, and you've learned all you can learn, and you are the guru of your life. But that's just not true. We can always be more empathetic. We can always be more compassionate to ourselves, to other people. We can always find more understanding in things that we don't understand. We can always see more perspectives than we see, There's always another chapter. And I think that that's something that I'm really starting to settle with and embrace. And it's something that I talk about, I feel like, a lot in a lot of different ways. A big part of this is also the second fire and moving, and I didn't have anywhere to live for 2 weeks, like stayed with amazing family friends that I'm like so grateful for. I really am just like humbled and grateful for everyone that showed up for me, but all of that just skyrocketed my anxiety, and I don't know why, but I should have known that eventually, like, I was gonna crash, and that crash was gonna be depression. And so after I moved and I realized, okay, this is it. I definitely, and I did, I started to slip into this depression. And I wrote about this on my Substack, but it's just hard. I think the hardest part about mental health and like this cycle of like anxiety and depression that I specifically deal with, but I feel like other people can relate to this for many other things, is that it's hard because you kind of forget when you're doing good, you forget how bad it can be. And when it starts to be bad again and you can't shower and you can't clean and you can't leave your room and you don't want to talk to people and you stare at the ceiling and cry for hours, that in itself is a system shock because you're like, I was doing so good, and that lie that you're going to do good and then you're just going to be good is a lie, and that's really what I learned, is that things are going to constantly happen and I'm going to have to constantly pick myself up off the floor. And I'm okay with that. I feel like now. I feel like life is about gaining the tools, growing, learning those lessons, and adding those to your tool belt so that the next time you have to pick yourself up off the floor, or you can catch yourself on your way down, and like I did, ask for help, do what you need to do, get your medication fixed, whatever it is, every time it makes it a little easier and easier and easier to ride that ride when you can fix it and you bring what you learned before. It's not about like learning a lesson or going through something to never go through something ever again. And I think maybe that's something I had in my head, or I thought, just thought, well, so much shit has happened from the time I was born. Like maybe I'm good. Like I really feel like I punched my time card. Like my punch card is full. Don't I now get like something like a treat? I get to chill? No. No. It never ends. It never ends. And the thing is, there are people that stop growing and stop wanting to change and to look deeper at themselves and continue to look at aspects of themselves that need reflection. People, it's very hard, I've realized, for people to be self-reflective. And I didn't realize that because it's just like all I do all the day, like constantly, is I'm like reflecting on like myself and like everything ever. But I guess for other people, they aren't. And I mean, and it's not like I do it and it's not hard, but it's just like how my brain works. And so I think, I didn't realize that other people aren't reflecting and like trying to be better next time as well. And not even just that, but also when we're afraid of change, when we're afraid of pivoting, really a fear of saying a lot of the time, whatever it wasn't working. When we're afraid of making that change and initiating it, it's because we're afraid of admitting what we're doing isn't working or that we were wrong. It's a pride thing. We're scared of losing investments and people and money. But when you realize that none of that matters, if you aren't happy here, it doesn't matter. You can always start over. Always. And we can't be afraid to do that. Third thing that I learned this summer, or in the last 6 months, is that 2 times is enough times. And this is just kind of a silly one, but it's for real. I feel like after the second fire, it was pretty clear that I was going to have to move, and it didn't feel like my home anymore. And it was so hard to be there, and admitting that I was going to move and making that final decision was hard, and like sitting with that, because I didn't want to. And so there was a part of me that was like, well, maybe if this can get cleaned up and the smell can get out of here, maybe I'll stay. 2 times, if it happens 3 times, then, I'd for sure have to move. And I just thought, wait a minute, bitch. If it happens 3 times, it already happened twice. And 2 times is enough times to say, I don't want that to happen again. And so I have to remove myself to make sure that it doesn't. I am someone, I can be stubborn, but I can also be very patient, and I can give people chances. I can give workplaces chances, farther than maybe I should, because I know that things are capable of being different, if people really try. Celine, stop hitting the microphone with your tail, my lovey. Be chill. You're not being cool. You're being uncool. And I'm guilty of, saying, oh, well, one more time, or if it's 4 times, or, if it happens this many times, or if it happens blah, 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 then it'll be. And it's like, no, one time is enough times. But if you need to learn that lesson a second time, learn it a second time and then move on. We've got to do better at getting ourselves out of these cycles. I am somebody where I'm like, when I know what I'm supposed to do, when I'm like, oh, that's how I'm supposed to react, and I'm like listening like to the universe, and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to move here or do this job or talk to this person, I do it. Can you not on camera? Can you not? My God. Can you not on camera? Not my boobs. Once I know, then usually I will do it. But the thing is that's not true all the time. And when I really, really want something, like I really, really wanted my apartment, I'm going to try and hold on to it for as long as I can. And the universe said, no, baby. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take this 2 strikes. You're out, baby. Yeah. And next time, hopefully it'll be 1 strike. You're out. Celine, please, not on camera. Be chill. Okay, number 4 is, maybe I'll have a little brag, or you guys are going to think I'm vain, but not in a vain way, just in an honest way, is that I am the coolest person that I know. If you aren't, you just have to have that attitude, and then you may be. I feel like everybody needs to think of themselves as the coolest person they know, because we spend so much time comparing ourselves to other people, running through social media, looking at all these cool things that people are doing. And it's like, are they even like really doing cool things? And are they even like, and why are they doing it? Like, I feel like the coolest people I know have intention behind why they're doing things. And I want us to like get some like media literacy, some social media literacy, to realize a lot of these people that get propped up, these influencers and like content creators, whatever. And I guess maybe I'm one because I'm doing this, like to talk about myself too. Like most of them don't have anything to fucking say. Like say something real, like talk about something real. And like, I mean, a big part of that I feel like is like politics. Like talk about what's going on in the world. At least address it. Have an opinion on it. Like you don't even have to talk about it all the time. Like just like have an opinion. Most of these people are just going wishy-washy with the trends flowing through. I saw this girl on TikTok, and basically what her post was about, it's been a minute since I watched it. It was a couple weeks ago, and I can't find it now. But I think she was just saying like she was having a self-reflective moment and thinking about, her trying to follow trends and different things like that. And there was just something she said where like it is a lot of work to like be trying to constantly keep up with the trends. And I just don't get like why people do it. I think that there's something to be said about liking things that like other people are liking. And it is fun when we're all like inducting something kind of like into like our culture and what's gonna stay, like in public memory, and we all like it, or we're all in on the same joke, and like it's fun to be on TikTok, like creating that like community and like communal vibe. I think we all enjoy that, and it's fine, and it's not bad to participate in trends, but we can't like, you have to have a sense of self and identity outside of those trends and know why you like certain things. I think people just like do things and they don't know like why they like them, and that takes yet again a bit of like self-reflection. But when you look at yourself as the coolest person and the things that you do that you just do, I think some of my anxiety can be like worried that I'm being like performative, and I'm just like being myself, but it's hard to explain. the intrusive thoughts, but it just makes me kind of hyper aware of like how I present myself. And I think for a long time I didn't realize that like I'm just like cool like inherently, and we all are. Me, the way that I do certain things, the way that I do my interior design, the way that I dress, the way that I talk, the things that I read, the things that I'm interested in, my job, like it just like is that way. Like I didn't have to like try to do any of that, and it's all like very cool, if I must say so myself. You have to like lean into that uniqueness and not be afraid to, because being yourself, being unique, and understanding that part of that is just like leaning into that inherent part of yourself. Like, this is just who I am. I'm not doing this because I saw a TikTok about it. I'm not doing it because like the Regina George effect, like cutting, like your shirt. Like, I'm not doing it because Regina did it and, she's cool and I want to be like her. It is good though to like look up to people and to have influences for sure. And there are people out there on the internet that I think are really cool and I think do things intentionally and have smart things to say and are like really adding something to the conversation. I've got a whole list of them in the newsletter that's accompanying this podcast. There's a section called Cool Bitches You Should Follow. And I list up a lot of people, a lot of Substacks. I list some TikTokers, just some like fashion girls, because it is important to like look for outside influence outside of yourself, because sometimes people have really good ideas and then you can find a way to like mix that in with what you've already got going on. And also it's just important to hear multiple like voices and to learn from other people. And so yeah, I've got a whole list of people that like I'm like, these are people that I would actually take advice from and that I think are not being performative on the internet. And so many people are, so many people are. I just read which one of the people that I've listed, it's a Substack. It's called Love Camry, and the writer is Cami Rose on Substack. And she actually just put something out today, and I was like, yes, this is what I've been saying, and it's really good. I'll link it specifically in the newsletter. I'll link it in my description, and then her Substack is going to be linked in the newsletter. I might do both. I don't know. You'll find her, and you'll be able to find what I'm talking about in one of those places. But she was just talking about love and like, like real, like romantic, like fairy tale love can exist. There's just all of these people spouting shit on the internet saying that it's not, or like giving us these like unrealistic expectations. Or and there was a bit where she was talking about, like people just like lie. And I was like, yes, people just like lie. You have to like have a bit of, I wish that we like really could have like a class in school, like just understanding that people lie and you have to like critically think about everything that you consume, at least to a certain extent, so that you are not just like mindlessly consuming something and you don't even realize like this person, the advice they're giving or the stories they're telling, it's like actually bullshit, not my like silly bullshit. How many people are just pretending to like live and like be a certain way on the internet than what they really are in real life? Like, I'm really over Brat. I was into it at the beginning of the summer, mostly just because I love Charlie, and her and like Lana and Marina were my people in middle school. Like, God bless. And I really liked the album, and like, but it was like a triggering album for me. I think because I'm like getting older, and as a reformed kind of party girl that used to bump that, who actually used to bump that, it made me want to bump that, while also simultaneously like being reflective and grateful of my growth. But it did kind of get me back in a little bit of my like dancing scene phase, and so that is fun to like kind of revisit that part of myself now, but like in a like more mature and like safer and like cool way. But people have taken it too far, and like, you guys have never even actually skied. You haven't actually ever bumped that. And when you're like glamorizing it now, all of a sudden like it's like this like cool thing. And I'm like, let's like not make drugs cool again. Okay. And if you're like really get it, drugs are actually cooler when they're not cool. So you're a little late. You're about like 5 years behind. But people just take things and then it just like gets repeated over and over and over. And like I said, it's fun to experience things and to experience trends and to what's going on in pop culture, but you can't like let it consume your life. And you can't change your personality and your aesthetic. Everything is like aesthetic this, aesthetic that, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what my aesthetic is. I'm just like me, like just be yourself. I guess maybe that's easier said than done. But you just have to start looking at yourself as the coolest person in the room and let yourself be your biggest influence and not other people. And I think that that is a place to start. The fifth thing that I learned in the last 6 months is that it is okay to accept help. I feel like the second fire was just a huge lesson for me as someone who is very, very independent and really struggles asking for help. Like most of the time I don't even know that I need to ask for help, and I just assume that I'm supposed to do it and get it done on my own. And that's how I approach a lot of things. One, because I tend to be able to figure things out on my own pretty fast. But also, two, I think that just through like childhood and having a young mom and just like other things that happened in life, it was easier for me. It was better for like the larger dynamic and like health of like life and like how my day was going to go if I just like figured it out on my own. And I have continued to be that very independent person and I pride myself honestly on being as independent as I am, but I had to ask for help and I had to accept it. I am someone that always has a plan. And I can always kind of like find a way or see the way forward. And like I always have this like arrow pointing the way to go. For the first time in a long time, like maybe ever, I had no idea what to do. I was lost. And I couldn't like, for someone like me who it's like I can feel it, like I can like reach inside myself and feel that direction and where it's pulling me. To not be able to feel that, to feel so directionless and optionless and houseless was humbling. And I had to ask for help and I had to accept it. And people were so amazing. And that's the other part of it that I learned. We just, as humans, have such this like remarkability for kindness and wanting to be kind and just authentically being kind and compassionate. And we want to be. I feel like that's also what I learned. It's not that people just do it. Like people and myself included, like I want to be helpful and I want to be kind. And it's gratifying to do that. And so almost to be on the receiving end and know that it was something that someone wanted to do and it was going to make them feel better to help, helped me receive those things. I think my mom and my aunt, either one of those people is kind of who helped really click that together for me. To know that people care about me, and I know that I'm loved, but to just be so supported and to feel so unconditionally loved was amazing. It's so hard in the world that we live in. There's so much going on. There's so much pain and there's so much just like evil happening. I think sometimes we forget it is easy to be kind and people do want to be kind. Most people want to be kind, and if given the chance, they can be. And for someone like me who sometimes thinks, we're past the point of being able to change as a society, we're past the point of being able to reverse, the damage that we've done, maybe there is like hope and love in the world, and we just have to like see it in each other. We have to see it in each other and we have to know that it's there. We have to believe that it's there. I don't know. It was the biggest thing that I've taken away from that whole experience was what it felt like to be communally like taken care of, and to know that we can tap into that and that we can do that and we can be there for each other in that capacity is really important. It's really important and something that I want more of in my life. And the sixth thing that I learned in the last 6 months is that authenticity will always outweigh perceptibility. And this, kind of has to do with what I was talking about earlier, like be yourself, be authentic. Like, I mean, I was getting a little like on a high horse there for a minute. Um I know that it's easier said than done to be like yourself and to be authentic, because it's great in concept, but honestly, what it takes is a lot of practice, some exposure therapy, and learning the lesson that authenticity really is more important. I think that as a generation and as a society as a whole, I guess, we're all so worried about how we're going to come off, with through social, because of social media and because of how our lives are on display to be compared to other people, and our looks are on display, and our finances are on display. We're constantly comparing, and so perception and perceptibility has almost become currency. What can you make people think is going on with you, or what your life is like, or what you look like, and is it appeasing? The more appeasing you are, the more people will like you. And whenever people are, trying to appease a larger crowd, or be seen by a larger crowd, they're usually going to do what the people that are being seen are doing, and then everybody starts doing the same thing, and then you're just inauthentic. And oftentimes, in order to be liked, you have to be not yourself and inauthentic. Popularity and authenticity don't equal each other, and I think that's where we get really confused as a society, or when we're scrolling through TikTok. Just because somebody is popular and has a lot of followers or has a lot of likes, it doesn't mean that what they're doing is real. And most oftentimes it's the exact opposite, because usually truth and honesty isn't popular. I mean, and that's just like, look at history. To be popular, you have to appeal to a wider group or a wider audience, and usually that will create some sort of compromise. And I think people give what they think people want. And I think that because everyone's trying to copy who they think is doing it right, or has the right aesthetic, or has the followers, or has the body or whatever, because that's what we're all chasing. We don't know anyone. You don't know me. I don't know you. People in my life, people in my family, people I've known forever. Still, like, it takes a long time to get to know me. It takes a long time to get to know anybody. And it's so easy to present something different to the world instead of presenting yourself and how you actually look, or how you actually talk, or what your actual life is like. It's actually a lot easier to lie and a lot easier to be popular when you do the same things that other popular people do, like, obviously. But I feel like I have learned that ultimately being yourself and being authentic is always going to win. It's always going to feel better for yourself. And then the people that are attracted to your authenticity are going to really know you. It's so important. And how empowering is it to not have to pretend to be somebody you're not around your friends or your family? And that is, it's not like a blanket statement. I know that there are some things that for safety reasons and things outside of our control or whatever, that we have to be a certain way and around certain people. That's totally not what I meant. But I'm just talking about the people that are really close to you. Everyone should have a handful of people that you can really be yourself with. And as someone who is on the dating market, that is what is so hard about dating, is that people are so inauthentic. People just want to be seen a certain way, or be seen by lots of people, and that's what they're really going after, instead of really being themselves and bringing to the table what they have. It's so easy, at least for me, to see through bullshit. And I think it's funny. I don't always say anything, but I see everything. Just because I don't say something, or just because I don't comment on something, doesn't mean I don't know what's going on. And a lot of the times when I see people being inauthentic, or I catch someone trying to play a game with me, I intentionally don't play the game, or play the opposite of the game. You're not playing checkers with me, babe. You're playing chess, okay? But if people would be just themselves, it makes it so much easier to, one, figure out whether you're compatible or not, because you're not lying or saying that you are when you're really not. And two, it just makes connecting and relationships in general so much more fulfilling when you feel like you don't need to like put up a front with those people. And especially when you're dating someone, like I don't want anyone that's gonna like put up a front with me. Like I can see through that, you know? And so like I then though in turn have to work on like not putting my front up or like, you know, that sounded funny. But you know, like putting on, you know, a certain I can like be anybody you want me to be quite honestly, but I have to just be myself and not tailor my personality or my quirks in order to be liked by the person across the table. And honestly, it's like so fun, like just like being myself and like having my humor. I just like tell it how it is, and I don't play games, and I say what's on my mind, and I like to be funny sometimes, and like either you're like into it or you're not. And like that is so freeing when you look at it where it's like, yeah, either they like me or they don't, and that's fine. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I know that. I know that. And you know why that's okay? Because everybody's not my cup of tea. Okay. And that's okay. It doesn't make people that aren't my cup of tea bad people. It doesn't mean like they're not like people worth like living a life, which means that if you're not somebody's cup of tea, that doesn't mean that you're a bad person or that you're not worthy of like living a full and beautiful life. It just means like you don't get along or you don't vibe. And that's okay. Speaking of dating, I'm off all of the apps again. Before the fires, I was just really like dating and I was going on dates, like I was speaking to different people and blah, 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 blah. And I was really like zipping around. And the fires, I feel like really redirected my focus to myself, which maybe I needed. And just also, though, reconfirmed for me that I am not like settling. For me, settling is like emotionally settling. I feel like I've gotten to a place where I know like I'm not going to emotionally settle. Like, I'm going to be emotionally like fulfilled, and I'm like searching for that, and like that's what I want, and I'm not going to take anything like less than something that like really fills me, my cup. Fills me. Yeah, I want something to fill me too. I'll be abstinent 2 months in December. 2 months, 2 years, bitch. I'll have been celibate 2 years in December, which is interesting but empowering at the same time. And that's really just because like I realized like this is an experience, okay? And everybody doesn't get to experience this. And I need to be careful about who I let experience it. And it's actually been like very good for me and my mental health. But anyways, because we don't want to use sex as a form of self-harm. Anyways, and I left with like sexual trauma. I'll be cutting that out for sure. Just with dating and friendships, and also like I feel like I'm in a mood like I'm like make Instagram fun again. Like I don't care what like I don't care. Like I just want to post things that I like and that are silly and that show my life. And I feel like people take social media so seriously. And I realized that the people that I really look up to are just being themselves and being authentic as you can be. You know, I mean, that's not 100% for anybody all the time. But I refuse to go back to a life where I wasn't being authentic and I wasn't being true to myself. And I felt like I couldn't breathe. You know, like I was being suffocated. Once you come out of that, and it takes time, it takes years, and it takes work and reflection. But if you can get out of that, you will work so hard to never be there again. Celine, can you not? I'm filming. Yeah, so that's 6 things that I learned in the past 6 months. I kind of wanted to come back with what's been going on, but also impart some wisdom And the next episode is going to be a little bit different and kind of back to the format that I was kind of starting to and really get into, where I kind of choose a topic and I dive more deeply into it and a current event. So stay tuned. Babblings will be continuing. I hope, I just like doing this and I would like to be more consistent at it because it feels good. But we will see how this goes. Because I do just, I do it when I can. Make sure to check out the link below to my Substack, but also the newsletter that corresponds with this podcast episode, because it's going to have all the links and info that you need for people that I recommend. Also, I have a little spot on my fall TBR, and I've really been in an albums mood lately. So I've got like my albums I've got on rotation, just kind of like filling you guys in on what's going on. So there's lots more there, like stuff that I didn't even talk about in this episode, but then also expanding more on things that I did. I hope that if you've somehow found this and listened to it, that you enjoyed it and that you maybe got something out of it. Reminder that Six of Wands is the card that I pulled for us. So we are in very good hands, friends. And if you have been having a hard time, let me be the reminder that life will continue and when it will be beautiful again. I don't know when, and I don't know how long, and I don't know what it's going to look like for you, but life will be beautiful again. And I hope that you can believe that. Right, Celine? Okay. Like, share, subscribe, please, because I don't know. I guess I do want, even though it's embarrassing, I do want people to like this. All right. Say bye, Celine. Okay. Ow. No. Stop it. Stop it. Okay. She's going to tear up my microphone. Okay. Bye.